Hi guys, welcome back to Post-Traumatic Bliss. My name is Kanini. In this class, we are going to continue on about programs. Last class, we learned about programs and why these programs are useful. In this class, you're going to start learning about how you can create programs, how actually human beings create programs. There's a caveat because I feel like this is the best way to learn. You're first going to learn what happens when you lose a program. You lose a program because of two ways. One, let's say for example, I teach you Spanish today, but you never practice, you will lose that program because like we talked before, you learn through repetition. So if the program is not strong enough, you're going to forget. In the world of programs, if you don't use it, you lose it. Always remember this. If you don't use it, you lose it. Another way to lose a program is the tragic way that we lose programs, by accidents. Let's look at this way of losing a program, and this way will help you understand programs better. And this is how I learned about programs. So I'm going to take you through my journey. As you can see here, you can see a picture of Oprah. And this guest here, the woman here, her name is Jill Bolt. This interview changed my life. This interview made me go and want to study about the human brain. So this is Jill Bolt here. She is talking about what happened to her when she was in her 30s. She's talking to Oprah in this interview. 8 years prior to them sitting here and having this conversation, she had a stroke. Before she had a stroke, she was a neuroscientist. So she used to study the brain. And then one day she woke up and she started feeling things going limp. Her body not responding. So she called her coworkers and her coworkers called 911. It happened that her brain was bleeding. The left side of her brain was bleeding and she had a stroke. A part of her brain was damaged, especially the left side of her brain. And if you know about the two brain hemispheres, we use the left brain for language, for doing math, for doing logical things. We use the left brain. Imagine one day you wake up, you don't know how to say apple, you don't know how to say cup, you can't even recognize those names, you can't match a cup with the word cup. Just imagine your whole life in your 30s, you wake up and you can't even write and read. You cannot do anything, right? You go back to being like a 3-year-old because that's what happened to Jill. All of a sudden, she went back to zero. Just like you want to ask yourself, what happened in Jill's mind? When we are learning something, for example, apple, car, when we are learning things from childhood, our brains create neural connections. You have a neural connection like this one here, and you have one that can help you label an apple. You have another one that helps you understand number 1. You have one that helps you understand number 4. You have one that helps you understand, what model your car is. These neural connections, the thing is, they connect and sentences and how to put them together. So what we call this is neural networks, neural connections. And these neural connections, they create a program, right? So in your mind, you have a whole program for language, for math, and you connect those programs together. And what helps you is this thing. And these are neurons, right? So what helps you to do that is called neurons. And here we see a neural network. So you create programs using neural networks. If we did not have these beautiful things here, these neurons, if we did not have them, we would be the most stupid species because we would never be able to connect the dots, right? The neural networks helps us connect the dots. So what happened to Jill is that when she had a stroke and most of her brain was damaged, she lost a lot of these neural networks. And they are so small, they are invisible. They're so invisible that when you look at the brain, you don't see them. You can't actually see them. But these are what helps us make programs in our brains. These are what helps you learn to talk, to walk, to drink water. You can actually not do anything without these neural networks, and are everywhere in your whole body. You're forming neural networks. When I pinch you right here and you feel pain, it's because you have nerves that send pain signals to the brain and tell somebody is pinching, that part of the body. You actually don't feel pain here, right? It registers in your brain. If you did not have those networks taking the signal to your brain, you would not feel anything. If you woke up and lost everything, like Jill had, most of us would give up on life, because what's the point? You have lost everything. It can be very discouraging to start over in your 30s. But our brains can create new neural connections. Our brains can reproduce these neural connections. We have a mind that is plastic, like I told you in the other lesson. So our mind can create these new neural connections, and that's why as a human being you're very resilient. So we have motor neurons. For example, the motor neurons that we have, they help you learn how to crawl, and then as you start standing up, they help you learn how to walk, and eventually you can run. And so you can see how resilient we are. If you did not practice how to crawl, you would not form the neural connections that you needed. So if somebody put you in a box and you were little and they closed that box and just fed you from there, you would actually not be able to strengthen your body, and your brain would also not form any neural connections for walking. I had a cousin, and he was fixing a TV aerial, fell from a very high building, and he hit his head. He did not break his leg, he did not break his arms, he did not break anything else. He just hit his head. Your brain controls everything. He actually lost coordination because of the part of the brain that he was that part of the brain that makes other neurons communicate and coordinate was damaged. That's what made him, to become disabled. So neurons are very interesting. Our brains can create new neurons, and that is how we create new programs in our minds. So that's how you learn a new language. That's how you learn how to cook a different meal. That's how you learn how to do math, because our brains create new neural connections. We have this ability to learn because we can create new neural connections at any age. You have neural connections for specific things. You have neural connections that identify specific letters. You learn this through repetition. Again, repetition here is a big thing. And I know you might think, oh, she's repeating this a lot. These concepts I really want you to get, because these are the concepts you're going to use to help you in your healing journey. So these concepts are very, very important to just have. Your life is determined by the quality of the neurons that you create through repetition. If you create neurons, if you create neurons that are good quality, then life will be of good quality. Some people exercise and strengthen their body. They create neural connections for a strong, healthy body. Some people write diaries every day, and they have very sharp memory about events and what happened that day and the other day, because they are strengthening the neural connections for memory. Some people have photographic memory just because of journaling alone. So it all depends on you and the type of neural connections that you want to create. Again, here we see everybody can have different programs. Some people go into fashion design, some people go into math, some people go into painting. As long as you're creating new neurons, you're going to create a different program. So what do you want to do? Because if you can strengthen those neural connections, you will get what you want. You can learn anything. So neurons equals programs, and different programs, depending on what you repeat, you create those neurons. So you can repeat playing the guitar, you can repeat being in the fashion world, you can repeat being a painter. Whatever you do and you repeat, you form neural connections and you become good at it. How do you get these neurons? Is repetition. Repetition, repetition, repetition. How many times, if I ask you, did you crawl? Before you could even walk, you had to learn how to crawl. Baby steps here. Really, baby steps. You can still crawl to this day because you've developed those neural connections, even if you don't use them. So those motor connections, they are very, very good. You of course you can crawl, but I bet you a baby can do a better job at crawling than you because they're doing it repeatedly every day and you're not. So you see here the concept, whatever you repeat, you become good at it. How many times did you sing the alphabet? Many times did you sing the alphabet before you could master, where A, B, C, D is? A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right? We said this a million times, and you're probably singing this to your kids or your grandchildren because we learn through repetition. So any skill that you want to learn, you can learn anything as long as you commit yourself to repeating and learning over and over. That's the power of repetition. I think we never salute this concept enough. I salute repetition. You do not need talent. You need to be very good at repeating things so that you can become good at them, right? We want you to develop these neural connections here so that you can become good at whatever you want to do. Repetition builds new neural connections. Power of repetition. Do you have neural networks for playing the guitar? Or how long do you have to practice to learn how to play the guitar? You can develop new neural connections for anything, not just playing the guitar. For painting, at any age you can learn calligraphy. You can learn anything that you want to put your mind into. Hablo español? Hello, hola. What neural connections, what language do you have in your program? What's your wiring? I know I'm wired to speak English better than I'm wired to speak Spanish. We all have different wiring, and you can choose what program you want to be under. I hope by now everything is clear. You need programs to live. Programs are necessary for our survival. So it's good to be in the habit of just wanting to develop new programs through repetition. Okay, now let's go back to Jill Bolte Taylor. She has had stroke in her 30s. She cannot talk, she cannot work, she cannot identify even a cup because of the damage, right? Of the damage that has happened. And I'm sorry guys, sometimes I did this PowerPoint and I thought it was perfect, but sometimes when I am presenting it, I can see sometimes like things have shifted. Jill Bolte Taylor has her stroke in her 30s and she is incapacitated in so many ways. Language, motor neurons, all these are damaged. And she has to learn again, everything. But thanks to the fact that we form new neural connections, our brain is plastic. It can form an ability to learn. So she is able to form new neural connections. How did Jill achieve this? So Jill had a very wonderful mom, loved her. And throughout this course, you're going to learn that there is a reason love is the greatest commandment that we have in the Bible. Because when Jill was incapacitated, she is in her 30s, but now she's like a 3-year-old. Her mother had to take care of her again. She had to go back to her mommy days, right? And take care of her daughter. But both these ladies understood the power of repetition. So Jill and her mother understood that she needed to repeat everything like she was in first grade to learn everything that she had previously learned. So they started to do therapy. She went back to this, learning everything from zero. The cards, this is a cup, this is number 3, this is, my name is mom. She had to learn everything. And this is why if something like this ever happened to you, drop all your pride because, you're going back to zero and you have to learn everything from square zero. And if you have people who love you, they will help you through this journey, through this process so that you can regain everything that you have lost. So they went back to zero to rebuild those neural connections. And they did this for 8 years. They did this therapy for 8 8 years. And slowly, she started remembering things that she had once forgotten. Once she started getting things back, they gradually started becoming more and more things started coming back, more and more memories, more and more. She started remembering even things that she had learned in science before. A lot of things, her language starts coming back. The other neural connections that she had lost also started coming back. When I saw this interview, Jill had already recovered from her stroke, and she had already written this book, My Stroke of Insight, and she was on Oprah talking about it. You can imagine why this story touched my heart. It actually made me understand that there's a lot about the human brain that I actually did not know. It made me curious, way more curious, to go and dig deep about the world of neuroscience, what I can do to help myself in this new world where we can achieve anything we want thanks to plasticity, to the ability of the brain to be plastic, to change itself, to learn at any age, to recover from injuries. It was amazing. It was amazing, amazing, amazing. Lizards can regenerate their tails, and I think that is awesome. And this is the most sensitive part of their brain. A lizard's tail is like a part of its brain. And snakes can even shed their skin. We are all animals and we do incredible things. And you know that a caterpillar can metamorph into a butterfly, and that is miraculous. I love that book where that little kid's book where the caterpillar had to eat a lot of things so that it can turn into a butterfly. It ate a pizza, it wasn't enough. A pickle, it wasn't enough. Eventually, it eats something magical and then it turns into a butterfly. But what can we do? What is our superpower as humans? What are we capable of doing? We can program our mind into whatever we want because we have this incredible power of neural connections. Our brain is plastic. We can mold it in any way. This is the incredible power that we have. We can build new neural connections. You can make your life so exciting and interesting. You can do whatever you want because you have this incredible power of forming these wonderful neural connections. So that tells you that you are powerful. This is not a joke. This is not an exaggeration. We are not saying this to people please you. This is the reality of your life, that you are powerful because you can form new neural connections. The reality in the way God designed you is that, and become good at them. And that way you change your life. You can learn finance, you can learn dancing, you can have a new handwriting, you can cook new meals. You can do anything you want. You just have to choose what you want, makes you happy the most, and repeat it and become good at it. Jill Taylor's book, My Stroke of Insight. I just had to dig much deeper into the world of neurochemistry and understand the human brain. It got me excited. That was the hook that got me. So I went to the library here in Newport and I took this book, The Brain That Changes Itself by Norman Doidge. And, it has a lot of stories of people who have built new neural connections and changed their lives completely. Countless examples of how people are using neuroplasticity to change their life. Let me tell you this incredible story I read. A Mexican doctor who had an accident, just like Jill Bolt. He had a car crash and he became paralyzed. And, his family was poor. So he was the breadwinner of the family. So the rest of the family members could not really take care of him. So he became paralyzed and he could not walk, and they could not even afford a wheelchair. And he went back to living with his parents. And because nobody was there to take care of him, they allowed him to just crawl around the house, and so that he can move around by crawling. And what happened is he had lost mobility, and now he started gaining his strength back because he was just crawling and doing things by himself. He was not embarrassed to crawl because the part of the brain that gets embarrassed, like the left part of the brain, had been damaged. So for him, Other people could feel embarrassed for him. Oh, he was a doctor and now he's just crawling. But for him, he didn't have that sense of pride. And he just would crawl. And that's how he started regaining his neural connections back. I was amazed by the incredible power, because the family did not have money to help him and resources to even buy a wheelchair. And even if it was embarrassing, he was resilient enough to keep crawling and crawling until he regained his neural connections and started walking again. And prior to that, a lot of people would say that people who had paralysis, that they could not walk ever again. But that proved them wrong, that you can be paralyzed and regain your mobility. Incredible. I know some people still believe that once you're paralyzed, you cannot walk, but that's not true. So another story that I read from that book was about a patient whose limb had been cut off out of an accident. They had his limbs cut off. And so he kept feeling pain from that part of the limb that had been cut off. They call it the phantom limb pain. He was feeling incredible amount of pain from the limb being cut off. Even if we cut off the limb, there are still those neural connections that had been wired in the brain that have not died off. So they'll still keep firing. They'll still keep firing. A lot of people are told, if you feel the pain, like you have a leg where the leg is not, you just hit it. You kind of like hit it a little bit like this so that the pain can go away, because the neural connections are still there. And so that made me wonder, have you thought about when they cut off a dog's tail? The dog will feel the phantom pain because the body remembers that limb as if it's there. And then there was this incredible story that I read, and you can see it on my YouTube channel. I covered this story about this girl. She's actually a transgender male. She's not a woman. She's not a biological woman. What they do is they cut off your genitals completely. And she kept feeling pain where her genitals had been cut off, because the body remembers that you still have those genitals because of the neural connections. When we form these neural connections, they just don't die off. So a lot of people are misled by their desires. And I think doctors should not have people cut off their limbs, whether it's your penis or your testes. Those body organs should be left in place, because she kept feeling this pain because when you cut off the testes and the penis, you don't cut them off in your brain. You don't cut off the neural connections, the neural circuits that have been there since you were born. Those are very strong connections neurologically. So they end up feeling the pain of that not being there. Very incredible science. You feel in the brain, you feel in the brain. And that's why they feel pain even if they cut off a limb. When you understand this world of neuroscience and programming, how can you use this programming to your advantage? What must you learn right now to change your life? There's so many incredible things that we could all learn. What exam can you pass that could change your life? Do you want to do a finance exam? Do you want to learn psychology? Do you want to learn how to fly an aeroplane? What do you want to learn? Because you can do it. Maybe you want to learn a new language or a new skill, how to drive, all these things that seem like you'll never learn, you will learn them if you repeat and repeat and repeat, because you can. You're incredible. You can form new neural connections, and there's no cap to how much you can learn. There is no cap to how many other neural connections you can form. You can learn anything. You can learn how to make money, how to save money, how to invest. You can learn anything you want to. And there are incredible teachers out there who are willing to show you something that you're passionate about. So my goal in this video, I hope that you see that you have incredible power, that you are unlimited. You're actually only limited by your only imagination. That's the only thing limiting you. I hope that you have learned something valuable and useful from the lesson 2. That you are incredible, that you are amazing, that you are unlimited, that whatever you put your mind to, you have the ability to learn, to be good at it, because God gave you that ability. If you have a human brain, you have the most incredible thing that we know of. Your brain, the fact that you have it and you're alive, it means that you're unstoppable. And I'm excited for you in this journey. So excited, because I know that once you understand the incredible power that you have, nobody will ever tell you that you're small, that you cannot learn this, that you cannot become this or that, because God did not create you with any limitations at all. He gave you incredible power. And we are just learning about how much power we have. So just write down anything that you want to learn. In the next video, we are going to start looking into how you can start creating new neural connections and how you can do it with your 5 senses. You're going to understand energy and how you can use energy to create the incredible life that you want. I am so excited. So don't miss the next lesson. Just dive right in, and I'm so excited to see you on the next lesson.